With football around the corner, time to start building up that bankroll. And we want to help by slashing the cost of all daily picks packages priced at $25 or more, including 5% best bets through the end of July. This amazing promotion runs from Tuesday, July 12th to midnight on Sunday, July 31st, and drops the pricing down to $25 daily packages for $12.50, 29 daily combo packages for $14.50, and $35 5% best bets for $17.50. But even better, this is the perfect time to take advantage of our one-day all-access pass. This package locks in the handicapper of your choice for one whole day for only $39, including when they have a 5% that you $5. But during our 50% slash promotion, you get a one-day all-access for only $19.50. We know this business is loaded with competitors and copycats, and we are very proud and extremely excited to be one of, if not, the premier sports betting information provider in North America. Our special discount pricing goes live on Tuesday, runs through the end of the month, does not require a coupon, and is available just by going to your favorite WagerTalk or Sports Memo Handicappers homepage right now.
Hey guys, Carmine, Bianco, WagerTalk.com. Stoppage Time is here. This is the special edition. This is the EPL season preview edition. We are going to discuss, it feels like the season just ended, but we're only 23 days away from Crystal Palace and Arsenal kicking it off in the first week of August, the 31st EPL season. And, with me, from WagerTalk.com, it's Nick Borman and Kevin Dolan. And from Sports Memo, it's Pavlos. And we're going to discuss things like top four, top six, some odds on those, and some picks as well, too, to get relegated. Of course, who is going to win the EPL this season in our minds. And then we'll throw in a couple bonus ones with the Golden Boot, who will win the top scorer this year. And, of course, there's going to be some interesting odds when we discuss that one. Let's bring in the guys. Guys, I'm going to go to you first. Nick, you just finished the golf show. We're still 23 days away from the EPL season, but it's hot on the heels. I can't wait to get this season going. We're going to discuss, before we get into those futures, some of the transfer news. But does it not seem like this season just ended?
Yeah, and of course, we're getting started early and ending late next year because of the World Cup, which I wish, obviously, I think we all would wish it was going on right now in the middle of summer to bridge that gap. But we got MLS still going on, and I know a lot of us have been doing that and doing very well there. I'm really excited. I just bought Manchester City home opening tickets for August 13th. I'm going to be over there for 2 weeks in the middle of August. First time going. I can't wait. I'm up in the nosebleeds. It was all that was available at the time, but I don't give a crap. I'm going to have a ball. I already got to get my Holland jersey ordered because I'm sure the fans are going to be going crazy for that. So I'm stoked, man. I can't wait to go watch a game, and I can't wait for these seasons to get going.
Yeah, they're probably going to stick you in the I always pronounce it incorrectly, but the Bournemouth supporters section. But if they do, you might want to wear a jacket over that Man City jersey of yours, because it's never good to sit in the supporter section with the wrong jersey on. We'll bring Kev. Kev, have you ever sat in the Shamrock Rovers section with your Derry jersey on? Or
I haven't had the pleasure, no, Carmine. I've actually only been I went to the 94 World Cup, Mexico, Bulgaria. So I obviously was packing my Mexican jersey in that one when I was a kid. And I think QPR was the only Premier League game I've ever been to way back in the day. Obviously, QPR haven't been in the elite division for quite some time. But, I'm really looking forward to the EPL season coming back. And, the fact that it's only 23 days away as well is, really exciting,
All right. And, of course, a person who does not want to sit in the supporter section with the wrong jersey on, especially when the owner of one team is carrying a Glock. My good friend, who I inundated with a bunch of pictures. I was at a beautiful restaurant with a Greece restaurant, Santorini, It was fantastic food. Pavlos Agretos, how are you, my friend?
Yeah, I've actually been to that team that you said. I was a supporter, and I was amongst the home crowd, so I was really, really quiet about, and really careful about, because, you see people from the same team, fighting each other. So what would they do to me if they knew that I was supporting the other side? So, yeah, I came out alive and really excited to make this Premier League futures show with you guys.
Yeah, it's a funny thing. Obviously, here in North America, whether it's up here north of the border or down in the U.S., you can wear another team's jersey and it's perfectly fine. It doesn't matter what sport it is. There's usually some ribbing that goes on. It's a completely different beast out in Europe. And a guy who owns a tour company on the Amalfi Coast. I'm going to be visiting there with my wife. During the pandemic, 2 or 3 years, we've had to cancel the trip because of flying into Europe. But he told me, do not come to Naples wearing your Juventus jersey that I see you wearing on Facebook all the time. He goes, you might not survive no matter what section you're sitting in at the Diego Armando Maradona Stadium. So we're planning on going to the Amalfi Coast. I'm planning to catch some games. I will not be wearing or bringing any of my jerseys with me, boys. So I'll continue to host this show. But before we get into our actual picks, I want to talk about the transfer window. We're still 23 days out from the season kicking off, and there's still a lot of news coming in. Still some transfers to be made. Chelsea working on a few themselves, but we got to look at the transfer window winners. I've highlighted some of them, and I'm going to throw it to Kev first, and then we'll go to Nick and Pavlos. You look at Man City, obviously the biggest signing with Erling Haaland coming from Dortmund. They've had to get rid of some of their players. Raheem Sterling looks like he's on his way to Chelsea. That's still not confirmed yet, but should be shortly. Gabriel Jesus off to Arsenal. They're still a stacked team. You have to make him one of the winners here. Chelsea, as I said, they're still waiting on Sterling. But you look at a lot of guys leaving, Lukaku, Rudiger, Christensen, but they're about to sign, it looks like, Napoli defender Koulibaly, and then, of course, Ake as well, too, which should strengthen them. Liverpool always makes those somewhat quiet transfer signings that are actually big ones. So we saw it with Diaz and now with Darwin Nunez. And you look at Tottenham. Antonio Conte, we talked about him, Kev. You look at his signings, and he said, if I'm going to manage, I need some control. And he's bringing in some players there. Perisic adding some experience. Richarlison, of course. Some defensive help with Longley, and then Basuma as far as a midfielder to help them out there. Another good one. And then, of course, we'll talk about Arsenal, the enigma that they are, bringing in Gabriel Jesus. Who are your winners, Kev? These are mine. Those were mine in the order of how they fell, I think. But do you have someone on top as far as your winners?
You nailed it, Carmine, because, obviously Manchester City have taken the majority of the headlines, with that acquisition of Erling Haaland, and Calvin Phillips as well. But, if Arsenal especially had landed that Rafinha deal, they would have been clear-cut winners for me. As it is, I still think they are the winners. That deal looked extremely likely as well 3 weeks ago, so it's a shame it never went through. But I think Arsenal have won this summer transfer window. But, even with Rafinha deal aside, which does look dead now, he seems on course for Barcelona. I've just been continued to be impressed with not only who he's brought in, but, who Mikel Arteta has let go at the club. He's cut the dead weight from seasons past, players like Lacazette and so on, sent them on the road. And, not only does he continue to have that, formidable youth contingent now front and centre, he's also added, players such as Fabio Vieira from Porto, a player with the second highest assist rating in the Portuguese Premier League last season. And as you said as well, Gabriel Jesus from Manchester City as well. A player who's arguably underrated, never quite fitted into Pep's system at the club. But, his underlying numbers are really, really good. 0.44 non-penalty expected goals last season. That's really high-level stuff, ranked in the top 10% across Europe in terms of, overall assists, expected assists, shot creating actions, pass completing percentage, and so on. So, out of any forward in the top 5 leagues in Europe. So his presence in this Arsenal attack is going to be huge to them. And he's arguably in a system now where he can thrive even more. The only other team I can think of outside of Arsenal, I think Newcastle's acquisition of Nick Pope coming over from Burnley is a big deal for them as well. Pope's a keeper who I've been banging the drum on for a long time. I've personally believed he is the best in England. He has a much better PSXG, post-shot expected goals number, than Jordan Pickford has, for example. So again, his presence at the back for a Newcastle team, will be big because, as we know, Newcastle allowed 62 goals last season, which was the 6th mark in the league. And in terms of losers, I'd have to say Chelsea. While they may have brought in Sterling and Koulibaly, or that looks extremely likely, it's who's on the way out, who's left the club. Lukaku heading back to Italy, probably not a massive concern, seeing as how much he struggled last season. But Antonio Rudiger is an absolutely massive loss at the back for this Chelsea team. One of the best kind of forward-thinking defenders in Europe. Very good at making those probing balls. And on top of that, they've already lost Andreas Christensen to Barcelona. Jorginho and Marcos Alonso supposedly want out as well. AC Milan swooping in for Ziyech. So as of right now, until we see who they bring in between now and the end of the season, or now at the start of the season, I should say, I would say right now, Chelsea, look the losers in terms of the summer transfer.
If I may, I don't get to say it very often, but I agree with Kevin wholeheartedly with the Gunners. The Gunners, man, he's right. I mean, they were a team, I talked about it a lot last year at the end of the season. I kind of jumped on them, 15 games left in the season to finish top 4. And they were in the driver's seat, and they did their normal Arsenal thing, and they choked it up and handed it over to the Spurs. But, what they've done so far this offseason, and he's right about Arteta, really getting these guys started to play well together, getting rid of, guys that needed to go. So I'll talk more about the Gunners a little later when we get to the futures bets, because I do like them for some futures bets. But listen, I'm sorry. I just wanted to finally say for the first time on Stoppage Time history that I agree with Kevin Dolan.
I appreciate that, Nick. I appreciate that.
I'm surprised nobody mentioned Aston Villa or Leeds, guys. You guys made some great points about the big teams. Manchester City were winners, of course. Manchester United were losers. They lost all that many players, and they've only brought in just one reinforcement. But Aston Villa, they did lose Matt Target, Conor Jurgen, and Trezeguet, but only Matt Target was a starter. They got Coutinho on a permanent deal. They got Diego Carlos and Augustinson from Sevilla, which are very, very great additions to this line comes with it. And they also brought in Robin Olsen from Roma and Boubacar Kamara from Marseille. So they really, I think they trimmed the fat with some players, and they got reinforced in the window. And the other side that I really believe were winners are Leeds. They brought in Aronson and Christensen from Salzburg. They did Mark Rocco from Bayern, Tyler Adams from Leipzig, and Luis Sinisterra from Feyenoord, who, trust me, be one of their best players now that Rafinha is out. He was very good with Feyenoord this season. But they did lose Calvin Phillips, and the only problem is that they have brought little to no reinforcements in the defense. But if they sign one, maybe 2 players, they might be the biggest winners, from the mid-table teams.
Yeah, you stole my thunder there a little bit, Pablo. Go ahead, Carmine.
And where there's a winner, guys, there's ultimately the transfer window losers. And, there's a few teams that fit into that. Then, and I'm a little surprised, I want to say this, because I would think with Eric Ten Hag coming in for Man United, and obviously an upgrade as far as managers go, that United and more players would have come to United this season. Black God makes it a little tougher on them. You look at who's gone, and as Pavlos said, cutting some of the dead weight or cutting some of the fat. Cavani gone, Mata gone, Pogba gone, Lingard gone, Mata and Matic. I mentioned one gone. So a lot of players gone, and they seem to be coming second or third in every single signing rumor that is out there. They haven't been able to bring anyone in. And then, of course, the lingering thing that we see all the time, and we're still 23 days out. Cristiano Ronaldo, his his agent team shopping him to other teams right now. This just reminds me of last season. Being a Juve fan, I saw what happened last season. He was already moving his vehicles from his villa in Italy, and the last time he did that was before his last transfer move out of Real Madrid. So and he lasted, I think, 1 or 2 games into the season before he moved to United. I'm not sure if he's going to be there. He's not a big fan of the pressing game. It doesn't fit his style and how his game has evolved. Whether he'll be there in 23 days comes to whether he will, whether they can find him or move him. Ten Hag has said he's part of our team. He's not leaving. So I'm not sure what happens here. Any one of you guys want to jump in as far as transfer window losers and my take on Man United?
Sure. Yeah. I mean, I don't think you should be surprised to say United are the loser. I think we would all agree that United are the clear-cut loser so far. They haven't done a damn thing except lose a ton of people and not brought in anything. And you can tell the supporters are getting a little worrisome. I mean, they were lucky to finish where they did last year. Yeah, I don't see any way they're going up at this point. So I 100% agree. But since you already covered them, the other one I'll mention that is worrisome is Everton, who had to do everything they could possibly do at the end of last year just to stay up. And they got they're dealing with financial fair play rules right now because they've had significant losses on the team's books over the last 3 years. So they are dumping players because they have to. We know Charleston's gone $60 million over to the Spurs. The loss of Sigurdsson, which that actually happened at the beginning of last season, but he's officially now off the team. Now I guess he had that. I don't even want to talk about it. Some weird child sexual thing. I don't even know what I don't know what happened with that, but he's gone. John Joe Kenny was a guy that many people didn't really know, but when Lampard came on, he played quite a bit with him, and he's gone. He transferred to Hertha Berlin, and then the latest rumor is, again, because they have to get rid of some money, is that Calvert-Lewin is probably on the way out as well. So I mean, those are big names that are no longer going to be with that team. Lampard's going to have his work cut out for him to keep Everton, up again this year. I don't see any chance that they climb the table. I wouldn't be surprised if they somehow still do stay up, but it's going to be a challenge. They've lost some weight, so I think they might be a loser, not necessarily because they didn't want to bring it anyway, but just simply because they can't.
Well, the truth is that they did get one big reinforcement in the defense with James Tarkowski from Burnley, but otherwise, yeah, I think they're big losers in this transfer window as well. They just can't get it going. Past couple of seasons have been terrible for them, so it comes back to haunt them.
Have any thoughts? Like Nick mentioned, when we're looking at like the losers and stuff, and Everton, and we're going to discuss that when we put up the odds for teams to be relegated, because they're one of the prices down there that which is interesting. But you look at obviously Leicester City, no real moves, and I think you can pretty much say the same thing for Wolverhampton. The Wanderers were not active; they normally aren't, but in the transfer window.
I actually agree. If it was any other manager apart from Frank Lampard, I'd be all over Everton to go down possibly, but there's no way I'm fading Big Frank. We all know on this show how much of a fan of his that I am. So no, he'll keep them up. I have no question about that. It's funny you mentioned Wolves though, because that's the team I'll be touching on later on for the relegation market. I really like that price.
Yeah, they were one of the teams that Wolves I'm talking about, where you can almost always bet the under when you see those 2.5 or 2 3/4 with their style, or maybe that was the old Nuno Espirito style. A little different now, but they're lacking some offensive punch there. And let's just get right into it, guys. Before we get into our futures discussion, I want to mention a promo. We're going to have a couple of them. I'll have a special EPL one later on in the show, but I want to talk about one of them right now. This is valid for the next couple of weeks, only until July 24th. This is a promo to get $400 off a 1-year soccer all-access package. If you use the code NEW400, this is valid until Sunday, July 24th at midnight. You can get $400 off the regular full season soccer all access price. That includes all props, all future bets, every single play for for 1 year, 365 days. If you already have a package, long-term package, this will be tacked on to the end of it. And because of the heavily discounted deal on this package, there are only 10 packages available combined between the 4 cappers. So pick your favorite capper, grab that package, and sit back and hopefully make some money this soccer season. It's going to be a big one, especially with the World Cup in November and December. You can get every single play for only $5.99. That is an absolutely great deal. Only 10 of those packages available, again, combined. So, guys, let's get right into it. Let's talk about some future bets. And the first one we're going to look at, and we'll get the graphic up for this one, is odds on finishing in the top 4 in the EPL this season. Now, I'm looking at this, and I'm going to make a statement. You're looking at this one, and you almost have to concede. We'll go to a roundtable discussion on this, but you almost have to concede the top couple of spots unless there's an utter collapse. Liverpool and Man City are going to take those 2 spots, and then after that, it's a scramble. Tottenham, Chelsea, Man United, Arsenal. With the next lowest being a Newcastle at plus 750. And, if you're puzzled by that Magpies price, you have to think about the fact that, while this team had to fight off relegation last season, they have new owners who have a ton of money to spend. And when we're talking about a ton of money, everyone talks about the oil money for Man City and how much money they have. The Magpies owners have 10 times as much money as the Man City owners do. So they will spend it if they need it. So, guys, I'm going to bring you guys in to this so we can get a discussion going on this top 4. But, I'm going to look at it like this, and I'm going to make this statement, and you guys can come at me on this or not. Last season or last summer, all we heard was the introduction of the Super League in Europe and how the fans revolted against this Super League that was starting. Well, the EPL is essentially the Super League, the best league in all of Europe, in all of the world right now. And it is stacked at the top. It really is. You look at the teams, Man City, Liverpool, Chelsea. How can anybody crack the top 6 when you look at those teams? It is going to be extremely tough. There is no team this season that I can see as of yet that is similar to the 2015-2016 Leicester City phenomenal run where at some places they were 5,001 to win the EPL title. And any of you guys convinced me likewise?
No.
I'm the same. I'm the same in terms of the top 4 market. I looked at it and I was like, look, I mean, it's so difficult to get inside the top 4. There's so many good teams. So I didn't see a whole ton of value personally. I think actually Arsenal at plus 200 present the best value to get inside the top 4 this season, especially considering not only how close they came to it last season, but also the moves you talked about earlier as well. But I do think there's more value in the top 6 market overall than top 4.
Now, let me ask you this, Nick. I'm going to let me throw this at you, and Pavlos, you can jump in at any time you want. Last year, Nick, we talked about it, and that's why I wanted to go to you on this one. We talked about the fact in the Premier League preview show, Arsenal was in that position that they could finish top 4, even though this team is such, like I said, it's such an enigma. And you look at the way they ended last season, they punted away a Champions League spot by, failing to win games at the end of the season and winnable games. And that was due to the fact that I said they weren't playing in any other European competition other than the club competitions in the EPL, like the EFL Cup and the FA Cup. Man United in that spot this year. And better than plus 130, plus 140, plus 150. They're cutting dead weight. They may sign a player or 2 from Ajax. We're waiting to see what happens. But under a new manager, a new style, maybe they play better. We've seen teams improve by leaps and bounds. Tottenham, for one. Chelsea, for one, with new managers. Can Man United crack the top 4? This is a team that I think it was 2 years ago was there. So can they get back into the top 4 in a Champions League spot next season at a plus money price?
I don't like it personally. I think the better bet is Arsenal, even though my point was going to be exactly what you said. The fact that they didn't have European competition last year was a huge advantage for them. But being in the Europa, I think at least in the group stage game, they're going to be paired up against some weak opponents. So I would imagine there are some games where they do not have to field the strongest team out there in some of those group stage. As they move on to the knockout rounds, that'll change for sure. But listen, from mid-January through the end of last season, the Gunners were a top 4 team in expected points. That collapse they had was very, very disappointing. Kevin already talked about the additions that they've had. Lacazette, I think getting out of town is a good thing for them. He really struggled over that last year. Sterling should well replace that. Add in Fabio Vieira from Porto. Their 19-year-old Marquinhos from Sao Paulo has got a lot of promise. So there's a lot of young talent on that squad. Arteta there. I think the Gunners, just to answer your question, Carmen, I think the Gunners are a better bet at a plus price than United is to finish in that top 4.
Pavlos, listen, we got a couple of guys backing the Gunners right now. It is, if there are any Spurs or specifically Chelsea fans watching this right now, they're probably going to hate me because I think the Spurs finished top 4, which means
Easily.
Arsenal, Chelsea, and Man United are going to battle for that final Champions League spot. And I just believe, even with some talent coming in to the Blues, that the Tuchel magic has worn off. I think it wore off towards the end of last season. I'm looking United. They're looking Arsenal. Where are you looking?
I'm looking at Tottenham. Of course, the price was, at least in my sportsbook, was much higher and starts to drop a little bit. Of course, with the addition of Ivan Perisic and Richarlison, along with Son and Kane up front, they have a scary offense, possibly one of the most lethal offenses in the EPL right now. And they also got Bissouma from Brighton, which is a really nice, good player in the midfield, and it suits their play style. They really need players like with Bissouma's. He can play very good defensively, but he can also create the game. And they also got Lenglet from Barcelona just to shape up the difference a little bit. But still, I think Conte did a good job with Tottenham's defense last season. But I think next season is going to be a very, very impressive offensive line with. You pick whichever 3 of those guys you pick between Perisic, Richarlison, Kane, and Son. These are scary combinations. So I think Tottenham are winners, and I like them to. I genuinely see them finishing inside the top 4. Manchester United, not so much. Arsenal, as long as they have Arteta, I don't know. They're lukewarm at best, so I don't really know about Arsenal. But Tottenham, I like them.
I want to mention something real quick about Tottenham. Sorry, Carmen, is that I think the biggest signing for them is Bissouma. How much better he in midfield than who they had last year. I think he's going to be the biggest game changer for them. So I just kind of want to echo Pavlos' thoughts that Tottenham. Listen, if there's one team, to me, the only team possibly, it's probably not going to happen. I know it's not going to happen to win the Premier League besides City or Liverpool. I would throw a little at Tottenham plus 1,700 to do so. Excuse me, plus 1,400, I think, is to do so. Maybe they get off to a fast start and then that number comes down and maybe somehow City struggles at first or something and a plus number comes out, plus 100. I don't know. Maybe you could get a chance to kind of guarantee yourself something later. But I think they have the best chance of any team to possibly get up to the top. But I think just to finish my thought, Bissouma, I think, is the most important signing for the Spurs.
Yeah, and when we're talking about Spurs, like I told you, the job Antonio Conte has done there, it's fantastic. Yeah, this team can score. The thing is, and we talk about midfielders, and we talk about that back line, and getting the center back Longley as well too, is defending, because you're going to have to defend against teams like Man City, like teams against Liverpool, who can seemingly score at will. And this is why they are where they are as far as their future book prices, and why that spots 2 through 6, they're up for grabs. Kev, you look at it, the spots 3 to 6. it's basically it's Lego. You can snap them in and out throughout the season, and it's going to be the last one standing that gets that spot. We've seen teams have fantastic seasons and then wilt late. Arsenal had, I won't call it a fantastic season, but they had a very good season last year, wilted late. We've seen West Ham do it. We've seen Leicester City do it the last couple of seasons where they just wilt late, and that's where having depth, especially when you're playing in Champions League and you're playing in these competitions, having some depth. And Tottenham seems to have picked up that depth, seems to have picked up that experience, especially with Perisic coming from Inter, a former Conte guy over there. They just seem to be getting a little stronger.
Yeah, I mean, you mentioned them, Carmine, in terms of a top six, and it's I've been banging on this show for multiple preseason futures shows. Is Leicester City plus 500 to finish inside the top six? That looks like really appealing value to me, especially at those odds. This is a team that simply couldn't get it going last year. They really struggled across all competitions pretty much, especially right up until that 4-1 thrashing back in February against Nottingham Forest over in the FA Cup. That result obviously brought out the dog in Brendan Rodgers. He was absolutely livid. He lambasted the team. He called it the most embarrassing display, that he's ever seen in time in charge of the club. And, he basically summed it up by saying, look, unless there was an extreme upswing between then and the end of the season, heads were going to roll at the club. So that approach seems to have worked. It's something that I look at in futures. I like to see how teams finished out the season. As from February 28th, when Leicester City, they were way down in 13th position in the league, I believe. Just 7 wins all season. Shows you how poor they were. They then went on to bank 25 points over the final 15 games. That was the 4th best haul in the league from that point of the season on. So if you're going to give me a team who finished out the season on that strong of a run, hopefully sorted out their issues, although I think Soumare wants out the door, so they're losing a couple of pieces of talent there. But, we're getting compensated for the risk at odds of 500, so, that's a bet I'm interested in making.
Pavlos, I'm going to throw this one at you because you mentioned Aston Villa. You can get them at plus 450. I'm seeing plus 500 at some other spots to crack the top six. Other plus money teams, West Ham, who are well coached and seem to be there each and every season for the last 2 or 3 years. They've had some very good seasons. You're getting them at plus 350. And as Kev mentioned, Leicester. Outside of that, a very shorter price than you would expect on Newcastle. But as I mentioned, with their owners and spending some money, and then a few off-season moves, they're a little stronger, plus 275. Anything jump out at you?
Yeah, maybe Leeds. First of all, I initially saw the plus 17 or 1600 on Leeds, but then I thought if that's so high, I could maybe pick Leeds to finish at the top half. So I scrapped Leeds. I kind of like Newcastle, but I'm not gonna bet it. I just kind of like the price. Because who knows who they will bring? Maybe they make 2 or 3 signings up front. Maybe they bring Lewandowski. Who knows? We don't know. Maybe they make some crazy signings, and then these odds are going to drop, and then we'll bang our heads on the wall because we didn't take Newcastle to finish in the top 6, and then they finished in the top 4. So Newcastle, based on the ownership status, I think there's value there. West Ham. I don't really like them so much this season. Leicester, not so much. Aston Villa, I love them. I love Aston Villa. I love what they did with the team. I think they're going to be one of the teams to watch, and they're going to cause a couple of, they're going to turn a lot of heads their way. So I like Aston Villa in these odds.
Yeah, and Nick, our first, Pavlos mentions Leeds, and Leeds are still, I think, plus 350 to finish top 10. So if you think they're going to be in the top half of the standings this year, you're getting some plus money on Leeds. But getting back to like Newcastle and their lower price, it seems like every big name, because of the money that they're saying they'll spend, is always mentioned with Newcastle, and we just don't know. There's still 23 days left before the start of the season, but we keep hearing, I keep hearing Neymar, that PSG is shopping Neymar just to lighten the load of their salary, given what they gave Mbappe to stay. Anything interest you in this top 6 market?
I'll say 3 things. 1, Newcastle, 3rd worst expected goal differential in the league last year, yet somehow they finished pretty damn well. So I don't know if it's a precursor of things to come. I don't expect it to be, but that was kind of alarming. Brighton, last 2 years, the last year, number 8 expected goal differential, with the 6th best expected goal allowed mark. 2 years ago, they were 5th and 3rd, respectively, in those 2 categories. So I guess a little regression, but somehow they're always the joke online of this team that just can't simply deliver versus what their expected goals and expected points kind of show them they should be. But Leeds, to me, I agree with Pavlos, is the team that's most likely to make the biggest jump in the table. So if you're going to take a flyer on anybody, top 6, it's probably a long shot, plus 1,700. But top half of the table, I'm actually seeing plus 450 now on DraftKings too, Carm. I think it's very good. Besides, I won't hit on all the players that they brought on because Pavlos talked about that. But the unique part about that is that the manager, Jesse Marsh, has brought on guys that he's played with before or worked with before, right? So he brought on Tyler Adams. He was the guy that gave Tyler Adams his first start in the MLS, 6 years, 7 years ago, whatever that was. Brendan Aronson from Salzburg. He managed Brendan Aronson at Salzburg in his first season. So he's bringing on some guys that he's already familiar with, that already know the scheme, that already know how to play with them. So I think I'm expecting quite a bit from Leeds this year. Will they make it all the way up? I don't know, but I think they have the best chance to jump the most, I guess, table positions this year.
All right, Nick Borman, WagerTalk.com. Anything to add, Kev? I know you went off. You're off the top there with the top 6, but listening to the 3 of us go at it, does anything else counterpoint at all, or?
I mean, I just don't get the love for Leeds. I really don't. I mean, this team were an absolute sieve at the back last season. They allowed 79 goals on the year, the 2nd highest mark in the league. And I don't see head coach Jesse March as the man to solve those problems. I mean, you've got a defense that bad, and you decide in the transfer window to upgrade every part of your team, bar the defense. I mean, I watched, I'm a fan of RB Leipzig, and I watched them last year. They were pathetic under him. I think they were down in 11th when he finally got fired. And I think losing their best player in Rafinha as well is arguably going to compound those problems. So I actually quite like Leeds to go down at plus 250.
All right, so let's move along because we have limited time on this. Let's get to quickly on relegated. We'll look at a couple teams, and then we'll move on to who is going to win the Premier League this season. Guys, I'm going to throw it to you, but let's look at quickly at the do we have the odds for teams to get relegated? I'm not sure if we do or not. There they are. Every year you look at the teams that get promoted, and if they don't sign any players, I always figure that they're going to go down. You can always find a couple of them. Bournemouth fit that. Fulham fit that. Everton, I get the whole Frank Lampard thing, but plus 350 on them. If they struggle early, they could dig themselves into a hole if you're looking for a good plus money play. But I'm going to stick with the first 2, Bournemouth and Fulham. I think they get relegated. Guys, what do you think? Give me a couple picks, and we'll get into a winner.
I can agree with Fulham.
Already mentioned it. Sorry, Pavlos. I'd go Everton. Already mentioned.
No, you go.
Yeah, I know. Kevin won't agree with his big boy Frank, but Everton plus 350. I think, at least from a season futures bet, trying to get a decent return, I think they present the best value. Everton.
Me personally, I think Wolves, I mentioned at the start of the show, 4th bottom in the league on expected points last year. We all know what happened to the 3 teams who finished below them in that metric. They all went down. And as well, we mentioned a couple of seasons ago, Liverpool, 14 games winning by exactly 1 goal. 11 of Wolves' 15 victories last season came by exactly 1 goal. That's a massive red flag for me. 73% of your overall hauls. So I think Wolves at plus 550 look fantastic. It's actually my favorite bet of the entire EPL futures market.
All right. And with that said, guys, we need a winner. Who is going to win the Premier League this season? I'm going to go first with this one. And then I want to talk about one last special with you guys, and we're going to close it all off. You all give a final note as well. 2, I'm going to go, listen, I get Erling Haaland has gone to Man City. I'm going with Liverpool. First full season for Luis Diaz. I get it. Sadio Mane is gone. He's at Bayern Munich. But they brought in Darwin Nunez. He's going to step in there. He's going to score goals. This team at plus 200, you're giving me 2-1 for them to win the title. They should be much lower than that. I get love, but listen, they took them right down to the wire, the final match day before the title was decided. I'm going with Liverpool this year, guys. And listen, you guys can jump in, and then I'm going to throw a promo at you guys. So, guys, give me your winner.
I'd love to take Tottenham at plus 1,400 because, the price on Man City is just too low. And if they make a deep run in the Champions League, maybe they'll switch their focus to the Champions League. And Liverpool, I don't really know if the plus 200 covers me, just me and my thoughts, considering the fact that they now have to find some new chemistry between the guys that left and came. So if I end up playing a futures bet on the winner, it's probably going to be Tottenham.
Nick?
I'm on the Spurs as well. The concern, though, is that last year they had the second most expected points behind only Man City over the last 3 months of the year, but they weren't playing in Europe at that point. They were already kicked out of the Conference League because they couldn't play their last game, COVID, blah, blah, blah. So now in the Champions League, if they make the group stage and they have to deal with that over those last 3 months, that could be a problem. But I'm hoping for a hot start for them. The way I would do it with Tottenham is to hope for a hot start, find yourself the opportunity then to back maybe Liverpool or Man City if they're off to a slower start, and try to hedge out at that point because Kevin loves to hedge. But if there's anybody from a big return, it's probably the Spurs.
All right, Kev, it's on you.
Yeah, I mean, for me, the only question is whether or not you want to tie up your money for the next 9 or 10 months because, in my opinion, if you bet anyone else but Man City, you may as well just chuck your money out the window. I don't see anyone beating them this year. This is a team that dominated every available metric last season. They've only upgraded, and to me, it's not even the upgrade in the City team itself. I think every other team's got a little weaker. Sadio Mane's departure, he had a goal contribution rate of 21% last season. I mean, that's 20 goals scratched automatically. Can Darwin Nunez pick up that slack? First season in the Premier League, I'm just not sure. So, it's not a bet I'll be making, but, if you want to win, I think you have to bet Manchester City.
All right, guys, that's the EPL show. I just want to talk about, obviously, the EPL season and an EPL promo. This one is good until the 24th as well. On your favorite cappers page in the soccer drop down, you'll see the EPL season. It's $299 every single play, prop, futures bet. $75 off of that $299 price with code EPL75. Again, that is valid until the end of the 24th of July. I'm going to throw in a little quick one here, guys. Last season, number one at WagerTalk, plus 80 units bankroll gain in EPL. Number one at WagerTalk. In soccer, 6 of the last 7 years, the pandemic year being the 1 year where I didn't finish first. Which one of you guys is coming after me?
Me.
All of us.
I need the MLS to keep going. I'm dominating the MLS, so hopefully that'll get me started off in Europe on the right track.
I thought there would be a little more trash talking from you guys, but I get it. We're short on time. I thought Kev would be throwing some petrol bombs at me or what
I was the bridesmaid. I was the bridesmaid an awful lot last season, Carmine, so I would like to step it up. Number 2, over 2022, we finished number 2 in EPL. Over 2022, we finished number 2 in the German Bundesliga, number 1 in Spanish La Liga. So I'd really like that top spot. So yes, I am coming for you this season.
We will battle throughout the season, I am sure. So it is going to be a fun season. It all kicks off with Crystal Palace and Arsenal in first week of August. Tune in. Every Tuesday, 10 a.m. Stoppage Time returns. I thank you guys for all tuning in to our panel. Pavlos Lagaretos, Nick Borman, Kevin Dolan, for me, Carmine Bianco. Thanks for tuning in, and best of luck with your wagers.
Sign up for the free WagerTalk text club to gain access to free plays and exclusive discounts. Just text WagerTalk to 33222 to sign up and get a $10 coupon to use on WagerTalk.com.